What is a night of music worth? Not the applause, not the tips, not the 4 hours on stage everyone assumes is the whole story. What is the night? What is the night worth? The drive, the setup, the teardown, the hours nobody sees, the life behind the notes, the miles behind all the melodies. What is the value of showing up with your whole chest when half the room is watching the ball game? Well, folks, we're here to find the answers. So, pull up a chair, pour something honest, and welcome back to Ivory's After Dark. I'm your host, Jack Rivers, arrogant, bitter, cocky, or simply awake. It just depends on who's swinging the story, baby. I'm not here to defend myself. No, I'm here to tell the truth as I have lived it. So, tonight we're going to talk about the math, the hours, the cost, the lie that keeps everyone quiet. This is not a rant. No. This, my friends, is a reckoning. Don't know how smooth it'll be. Don't know if too many people are going to laugh at this. Who knows? Maybe. But I got a stiletto, and I'm here to gut the scene with my stiletto and make it bleed. So let's get into it, right? People read a poster that says 4-hour show and think we worked 4 hours. That is adorable. A 4-hour show is an 8 to 12-hour commitment. And depending on how many stairs God cursed your venue with, load the gear, drive, load in, wait for the bartender, remember where the power is. And if they have a sound guy, you got to wait for him to swears he forgot the DI. Play our house kit. It's over there in the corner. It looks like something out of Fisher-Price and Casio. Then you play, you break down, you load out, you drive home, you unload again, then you spend 2 days answering messages because everyone wants clips and dates and tags, links and proof that we existed. And that is before rehearsal, before writing, before promoting the show that the venue forgot to post about. People who think musicians work a few hours to 4 hours a night have never worked a night of music. We do not get paid for the show. We get paid for the day we sacrificed to make the show possible. Most bars don't even realize that they're hosting $10,000 to $20,000 worth of equipment for the price of a couple $100, a couple pizzas, and a handshake. There's guitars that cost more than rent, and pianos that weigh more than your therapy bills. Drums that require a forklift and a chiropractor, and PA systems worth more than the bar's sound system, which typically is 2 blown speakers in the ceiling from 1996 and a bartender who swears the bass sounds fine. And yet, if a plumber walked in the bar or any venue with tens of thousands of equipment and a crew, nobody would bat an eye. Nobody would say, hey, why don't you do it for exposure because we get a lot of foot traffic in here. But for musicians, well, you see, people expect professional results with yard sale budgets. And then they complain when the scene collapses like a lawn chair at Thanksgiving. Cables break, drum heads break, guitar strings. Everything needs replaced. Gear's not an expense. Gear is mortgage. $400, $500 in 1988 is not $400 or $500 today. We know it, you know it. The gas station knows it, Your landlord knows it. And your grocery bill definitely fucking knows it. The only people who do not know it are the ones paying the band. Inflation hit everything except live music. Well, maybe nostalgia has a loyalty program I'm not aware of. I'm not the only one, though. Nobody fights inflation when beer goes up. Nobody fights inflation when minimum wages rise, right? Nobody fights inflation when the distributor raises prices. But when musicians say the number out loud, suddenly we are arrogant. No. We're just tired of pretending math is optional, Joey. If the world changed and the economy did not, someone's lying, and it is not the calculator. So, I want to talk about the lie. Because it's simple, and it's old, and it keeps everyone comfortable and broke. If the band was good enough, people would show up. No. People show up to rooms that make it worth showing up. Rooms with energy. Rooms with good service. Rooms that turn the fucking TVs off long enough to let a moment happen. A great band cannot save a dead room, but a dead room can bury a great band. Bars don't blame the taps when nobody orders a drink. Bars do not blame chairs when nobody sits in them. But if the room is flat and people leave early, suddenly it's the band's fault. That is not a business. That is a denial wearing an apron. And if we're going to pretend, well, hell, let's talk about the price of pretending, right? Pretending this is still a beer and cheeseburger economy. Pretending gratitude is a payment method. Pretending exposure is currency. Pretending professional results come from amateur budgets. Pretending is how scenes die. Because cheap bands create cheap expectations. Cheap expectations create cheap culture. Cheap culture creates silence. The death of a local scene does not sound like chaos. It sounds like TVs, lots of TVs, playing ESPN reruns. Sad. See, most people think price and value are the same thing, and they're not even close. Price is what you hand over. Value is what you get back. A band that brings full production, a night of atmosphere, a room that stays longer, spends more, and talks about it long after the night is over. That, my friends, is value. A band that shows up late, brings a Bluetooth speaker from Walmart, plays 6 songs that nobody knows, and packs up before last call so that they can get over to Taco Bell, that's price. And cheap bands, they do not save venues money. They cost venues future nights. A band is not an expense. A band is a reason to leave the damn house. When a room pays bottom dollar, they get bottom dollar energy and results. When a room invests in the night, people feel it. That is the difference between music being entertainment and music being a memory. Audiences today, people don't go out like they used to, right? They don't stay out late. Life costs more. People are exhausted. And screens, they stole attention. Everything is noise. A bar has to earn a night now. They earn it with good service, good atmosphere, good room, good lighting, good staff. The band is the spark, but the room is the gasoline. If the room can't hold the moment, the spark dies. But bands are expected to be the whole campfire. Meanwhile, half the room is staring at ESPN reruns like they have never seen a fucking touchdown before. If you want music to matter, let it matter. Turn off the TVs, dim the lights, create an atmosphere, make the night feel like a night. The crowd will remember that. They will. It boils down to your identity. A venue without music, a venue without a musical identity is a building serving drinks and TVs on the wall. No problem with that. A band without an identity is a playlist wearing tennis shoes. People are not loyal to random noise. They are loyal to a story they can recognize when they walk in the door. Some rooms have identity. They know who they are. People go there because that room means something. Other rooms just exist. Lights on, TV's loud, band in the corner, like a jukebox that sweats. Bands, they don't come to be furniture. They come to make a night. Now, there are venues out there that get it right. There are places that still know how to run a room. They know how to promote the show. They do turn the TVs off. They do move the tables and chairs. They do put the focus and the priority and market the band. They greet the musicians like partners and not like hired help. They take pride in the experience. And they invest because they believe in the night. And guess what? Those venues, they never have trouble with turnout. They don't sit there scratch their head wondering why people do not stay. They never fight to fill the room because people show up because it feels good to be there. They have created an atmosphere. They have created a destination point. People leave the house. They want to go to that place because that was a great experience. Good rooms create good memories. Good memories bring people back. And the band is not the only ingredients, although we are a hell of a spice. But there are bands that treat this like a hobby. Here I go. There are bands that pour their soul into this. They rehearse, they invest, they promote, they bring production, they deliver a night, a hell of a night. And then there are bands who think being on stage is therapy, validation, or a chance to feel important. They show up with borrowed gear, crap gear, I don't know. They don't rehearse, and they might as well play drunk. You couldn't tell the difference. They leave early, and they charge, $50 a guy and a cheeseburger. Those bands are not competing with us. They're undercutting the whole market. If you play for free, that, my friend, is your choice. But understand this. Every time a band plays for less than the cost of showing up, someone else does not eat. And eventually, neither do you. So before you think bands that are stepping back and raising a standard creates opportunities for you to play more, think again. Because cheap art is not humble. Cheap art is a disease. And that brings us to a crossroads. Because the scene can only go one of two ways. It can rise, venues can step up, artists can step up, standards get higher, pay gets higher, rooms get better, nights get better, music lives. Or it can sink. Cheap bands, cheaper venues, cheaper crowds, cheaper expectations. Music becomes wallpaper. Nobody notices when it disappears. One path leads to culture, the other leads to silence. And we all decide which one happens. And in doing that, means responsibility and accountability. Everyone wants better pay, better rooms, better crowds, better nights, better respect. But you can't demand a standard you do not uphold. If a band wants to be paid like professionals, then they need to act like professionals. Show up early. Promote. Just like you meant to leave the house. Sound like you rehearsed. Bring equipment that works. Treat the night like it matters. Play dynamically. Play to the room. If you want the respect of a craftsman, do not act like a hobbyist. And there's nothing wrong with playing for fun. There is something wrong with playing music for fun and demanding the rewards of a career. And if you are casual about your art, you are casual about its value. And the market responds to that. Right? Of course it does. Because that means there's standards. Because every industry has standards. Welders have certifications. Plumbers, the trades, certifications, electricians, licensing, nurses, doctors, okay? Chefs even have training. Musicians, no, we get Facebook comments. People think that talent is enough. It is not. Nobody cares how well you sing if you can't finish a night without breaking something. Nobody cares how fast you can shred if people walk out during your set because you have to have your amp turned on 10 so that the neighbors can hear you too. Awesome drum fill, but unfortunately you shattered out the windows in the parking lot next door. Talent is not a standard. Talent is a starting point. The standard is consistency. The standard is reliability. The standard is a night worth remembering. Because people do not remember notes. They remember how they felt. They 60, 80-hour weeks, and they come, and you get one opportunity to lift them. So if you cannot create a moment, you can't demand a rate because there's no respect. We're not talking about respect from fans, but respect from the room itself. Some venues treat musicians like a piece of furniture with a pulse. Stay out of the way. Don't be too loud. Our patrons want to hear themselves chew their food. Don't take up so much space. Just play. What is it? They want the benefit of live music without being responsible for hosting it. They want the night without the investment. Respect is not the applause, folks. Respect is partnership. Respect is the room meeting the band halfway to create something worth returning for. If a venue doesn't value music, then don't hire a band. Turn up the TVs and everything's good. But stop pretending. It's not feasible. People say they can't pay musicians more because the business is slow. They cannot make more money because crowds are small, and crowds are small because there is no atmosphere. And there's no atmosphere because the band is treated like wallpaper. And this is not a circle. This is a spiral. The scene does not die in one night. It erodes one half price gig at a time. And if you want to run a bar that thrives, invest in what keeps people there. Some bars ain't going to have live music, and they know that, and they do good at what they do. The cheap nights do not build loyalty. Cheap nights build habits. Habits built on boredom do not keep doors open. Talked an awful lot about venues and so forth. I've mixed it up, but I want to talk about what we artists owe you. We owe you the truth. We owe you effort. We owe a standard. We do not owe silence. We do not owe cheap rates. We do not owe gratitude for being allowed to show up no matter what Joey Bag of Donuts thinks. We do not owe validations to rooms that do not care. If you don't care, we won't be there. But we do owe our craft what it cost us to earn it. If that threatens the people who benefit from the way things are, good. A healthy scene is not built on comfort. It is built on standards. Music doesn't die from lack of talent. It dies from lack of standards. Every dead scene has the same autopsy. Cheap pay, cheap venues, cheap bands, and everyone waited for someone else to fix it, and nobody did. Nobody did. And there are some rooms that do not just underpay bands, they charge bands to be there. They call it a slot fee, a pre-sale requirement, production fee, dress it up however you like. It's the same thing. If you have to pay to walk on stage, you are not a performer. You're a customer with an instrument. There are places that make every opener sell 40 tickets just to keep their spot. If you do not hit the number, you owe the difference in cash. That is not an opportunity, pal. That is a fucking bill. And there are places that'll stack up 6 bands on a bill. Not because they love music, but because if each band sells 10, 20 tickets, the room makes its money before the night even starts. That's not a scene. That's a pyramid scheme with amplifiers. Pay to play does not mean you got booked. It means you got hustled. And scams work because people want validation more than they want a fair contract. Venues that believe in music pay the band. Venues that do not believe in music charge the band. If a room can't afford to pay musicians without billing them first, it is not a music venue. It's a charity drive for bad business. And there's damages that's done from that stuff. When bands agree to do that, they agree to pay to work, the bottom drops out of the market. I mean, why would any room pay $1,000 for a band that fills the place when they can charge 5 bands $50 each for the privilege of playing to their friends? Why would any room invest in production, sound, lights, or promotion when musicians are lining up to fund the night themselves? And once pay to play becomes normal, real pay becomes rare. And the rooms that used to be worth playing slowly turn into places that are only worth posting a selfie. So what story are you telling yourself? There's one that musicians tell themselves. Normally it goes like this. In these cases, well, if I do this free show now, they'll pay me later. If I do this slot for free now, it'll lead to bigger things. If I help them pack the room once, they'll take care of me the next time. Here's the truth. If you are willing to do it for free, they are willing to let you do it for free forever. And if you pay to work, they will let you pay as long as you're willing to bleed. Pay to play is not a stepping stone. It is a treadmill. You move, you gain, or they gain, right? You move, they gain. You get tired, they keep the money. So you need to know what kind of rooms you want to play in. There are A rooms, B rooms, and C rooms. The A rooms, they value music. And you can tell because they invest in production, promotion, they build their identity. They pay fair, they promote, they treat bands like partners. The B rooms want to care, but they are inconsistent. Some nights they do get it right. Some nights they do not. They're not bad people. They're just not committed. C rooms, they don't care at all. They want sound in the corner and someone to blame when the bar is empty. C rooms will say things familiar like, you should be grateful to play here. And there are plenty of bands who will do it for less. Well, we can give you exposure. A room. A rooms never say that. A rooms don't have to. Let's talk about where old Jack stands in this. I do a solo show. I have a band. I have a group of musicians that have supported the post I made on social media. I'm not going to be everywhere. Neither is my band. Not chasing every date just to say we're busy. Because we know what it costs to show up. We know that in time, in gear, in energy, in life. We're not going to pretend that $400 or $500 in this economy feels like a win. And we're not mad at anyone. We're not bitter at anyone. We're just not lying to ourselves. We will play fewer shows in better rooms for better money. We will give those nights everything we have. And I'll sleep just fine. So the math isn't personal. And the math is not emotional. The math does not care how talented you are. The math doesn't care how long you've been playing. The math does not care about your feelings. The math cares about the hours, the cost. The math cares about what comes in and what goes out. Right now, in a lot of rooms, the math does not add up. Musicians are paying in time and money and health and wear and tear. And venues are clinging to rates that were set when gas was under $1. Bands or artists afraid to speak up are filling the gaps but playing for less than it costs to live. That is not a scene. That is a slow collapse. If you are a venue that values music, pay like it matters. If you are a musician who values your craft, charge like it matters. If that means some rooms can't afford you, so be it. If that means some bands can't afford to keep undercutting everyone else, so be it. You cannot build a future on numbers that only work in the past. So, if any of this made you angry, I don't care. Ask yourself why. If it stung, I don't care. Ask yourself what part of it was true. If it felt like arrogance, ask yourself who benefits from you staying quiet. It's not about ego, Joey, or anybody else who wants to get in my comments and say that I'm an egomaniac or whatever. This is about survival. For the rooms that are doing it right, I do see you. A lot of us do, and thank you for that. For the bands that are holding the line, you know who you are. I stand with you in the trenches. For the rest, the invitation is very simple. Raise the standard or stop pretending you care about live music. I suppose that's enough for one night. You have been watching Ivory's After Dark. I am your host, Jack Rivers. If you are still chasing the honest sound, still believing in the real rooms and the real nights, you have a seat at this piano anytime. Pull up a chair, pour something honest, and remember, the truth, it lives somewhere between the keys. Good night, folks.